a guy came driving down the road and I vaporized his car and killed him.
I see. And you maintain that none of this is true.
No, of course not.
All right.
But it's just amazing, the stories that get started.
Well, of course, you are Bob Lazar. There is a certain aura around you, and when you connect that with buying a missile silo, people's imaginations naturally go berserk.
Well, berserk is a good word.
But then again, you are Bob Lazar. It is a missile silo, and to be honest, you haven't actually answered my question yet about what you're going to do with it, and you say you can't answer that question, and you know that's going to feed rumors. It's got me thinking. Okay, well, all right.
Well, I just can't help that.
Yeah, Bob, over the years, especially in that time period when you were with John and the whole thing was coming down, how much, and you've done a number of public interviews, several with me, how much is left that you can't talk about?
Can't,
or unable to?
Concerning the UFO,
the whole thing, yeah.
Information.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot.
But some.
There's just a couple little tidbits, and I think I've told you that before. There's a couple things that I need, and this isn't to burn anybody and hold information back, but it's in case somebody claims that they were involved with the project or worked there. There are a couple things that only those people will know, and anytime that anybody brings those up when questioned by me, I'll know.
Right.
So that's the only reason. There's just a few little bits and pieces of information here and there.
All righty, then let's go down that road for a second. I mean, there are others like you, Bob, who worked out in and saw all of that. Obviously, there had to be quite a number over the years of people who became aware of that knowledge. Why are there not a lot more Bob Lazars out there?
I don't know. Initially, I was not supposed to be the only one that came forward. But
not supposed to be?
No.
You mean you had an agreement with someone?
Well, Barry, the guy that I worked with there, was supposed to additionally come forward, but that apparently never happened. So I was left out there in the dark.
Twisting in the breeze.
Mm-hmm. So
Barry,
I don't know what happened.
So this Barry had promised you he would step forward with you?
Well, kind of, and, I wonder if it's wise, really, to comment too much on that, because I don't know what Barry's situation is now, but we had talked about things.
But if somebody were to come forward and claim they had seen what you saw, they also know it to be true because they worked there, you would have a couple of questions you'd be able to ask them that would verify the authenticity of it.
Sure. Instantaneously.
Yeah. All right. Now, why did you move? I mean, you've been a very long-time desert rat out here in the Las Vegas area nearby me, and, of course, the infamous Area 51S4 and all the rest. I mean, you lived here so long. Why'd you move?
After a while, Las Vegas gets to you. I was there, and certainly working at the test site was fascinating. And a little bit of the work I did there when I initially moved to Las Vegas. But after that, being out of the scientific field, I really went stagnant and really didn't produce or do anything that I really considered worthwhile, and just needed to get out of the Las Vegas environment completely. And New Mexico, especially around the Albuquerque area, you have two of the most prominent national nuclear labs here, Los Alamos and Sandia, and the cities here are filled with PhD scientists, and it felt good to get back into the mainstream of things. And in the short time I was here, in the first 18 months, I just began to actually produce what I considered decent work. I started filing for patents and as you know, working on the hydrogen system and
I want to talk a little bit about that, as a matter of fact. Yeah, patents and on hydrogen fuel systems, and I know you've had them in your car, you've run your car on hydrogen, did it for a long time, right?
Right.
Whatever patents you have, what's this about a SWAT team coming in and grabbing all of your data and computers?
I have to stop you there. We can't even touch that one. I spoke to my attorney after I sent that email.
No kidding.
No, we got to totally just
not talk about that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. At any rate, now that you're back, or you're in New Mexico, you feel like you're doing good work in your area once again.
Yeah, and it's I guess it's just a different mindset, and also the immediate area that I live in. Moving up isolated in the mountains in the middle of a forest, and on a lot of acres of land, and is different than living right in the middle of Las Vegas and typically in town. So it's just, it's a freer environment, and I'm building my own research lab here, and I don't know, it's a lot more fertile ground for thinking and actually doing something serious.
Well, I do get the sense there is still an awful lot you can't talk about. You said a couple of things, but then we keep touching on several things that still, there's aspects of it that you can't talk about. So I would say a lot of your life still is surrounded by having to keep secrets. Are you good at keeping secrets?
No, I think it's been proven pretty well that I can't do that. But it drives me crazy, because the thing I would love, I could spend 4 hours on the phone, more pissed off than you can imagine, talking about this SWAT team thing, but my hands are tied right now. And maybe in the future I can say something about that. But
no, attorneys are that way. I know when there's ongoing stuff. And they're right, of course. Ultimately, they're right. But it does kill you not to be able to talk about something.
Yes, it does.
Do you think that you're working on, without asking you specifically what you're working on, let's try it this way. Did any of your experience at S4 and what you saw and what you learned technically have application in any work that you're either doing now or contemplating?
Yes.
Oh, my. Yes. Now, I'm obligated to ask you about your project, what you envision, what you're doing, even in general terms. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're working on? Well,
I'm overburdened with projects in progress. As you mentioned, the hydrogen fuel systems, that's actually something I've been working on since the late 70s. And that's finally come to fruition, and a lot of the materials needed long-term testing, and they've certainly had it now. That's probably the biggest.
Okay, perhaps you can answer a hydrogen question for me. Now, hydrogen is being touted, even the President of the United States is touting it as the way to go. But there are others, Bob, who say, look, this is, in a way, all foolishness, because, to create hydrogen in amounts that would be good for the public to use, energy cells, fuel cells, would require manufacturing, pollution, the use of energy. In other words, all you're really doing is finding a new storage facility and way to store energy that still has to be produced, frankly, in the old-fashioned way.
No, not really.
Well, then lay it on me. Not really how?
Well, first of all, there's two trains of thought here. The automotive industry, the president and his advisors are all going down the fuel cell path. And for those that don't know, a fuel cell is a device that takes gaseous hydrogen and oxygen, combines them, and makes electricity. And little fuel cell water dribbles out of it, because when the hydrogen and oxygen combine,
that's the only byproduct is water.
Right.
And so you could use these in cars or to power homes or whatever, right?
Right. Well, you can use these things, and their car of the future has fuel cells and an electric motor, and that's how the car is powered. Now, that's very efficient. It's around 35% efficient overall, and that is pretty neat. However, all the technology's not there. The vehicles will be fantastically expensive. None really exist right now in production. And what about the billion cars that are on the road now? What, is everybody going to dish out $175,000 for a